I feel like you want the answer to be no, but like I do think the answer is yes.
I can't recall a time. Maybe no. I'm asking you.
No, I think on their side,
Hasan Piker tries and fails to explain why the Democrats lost in 2024. Let's see how this goes down.
First couple of years, there's been so many moments where, my great frustration, I think, in the way politics is talked about is often people do not want to do the work of figuring out who's actually responsible, right? Like Republicans will shut down the government, and mainstream sources will say Washington gridlock continues, right? Or Joe Biden will be stymied in some way, or Barack Obama will be stymied. Why didn't Barack Obama do this? Why didn't Barack Obama do that when he had a majority, right? Mm-hmm. He said, well, because it's actually, you know what? In the Senate, having 49 votes to get rid of the filibuster and having 50 votes to get rid of the filibuster is a difference between doing a ton of shit and not being able to do anything. That's not the fault of 49 people. That's the result of one person. Yeah.
Can I bring up something really quick? This conversation that you and I are having, have you ever heard a Republican have this conversation?
Well, what do you mean? Like Republicans don't talk this way?
Have you ever heard a Republican go, sorry, we couldn't get this done because we simply did not have the votes? Is that ever like a real significant front-facing public conversation that the Republicans have?
Yeah, if you watch Republicans, yes, they will have a conversation about why they lost. That's why we won, because we've learned from our mistakes. I mean, it happens all the time. I remember prior to the recent election, you know, like when people were going after Joe Rogan when he didn't want to have, it sounded like he was endorsing RFK and stuff. You know, he had other Republicans going, hey, man, don't chase them away. Don't chase away the centrists, man. That's how we lose. So clearly, yes, the Republicans have this conversation. And two, has anyone ever noticed, is it just me, or is this Hasan Piker's head like really small for his body? I'm sorry. People get upset at me when I notice things about how people look on here, but it's kind of distracting. Maybe not for everybody, but for me, it kind of is. But let's continue.
I feel like you want the answer to be no, but like I do think the answer is yes.
I can't recall a time. Maybe no. I'm asking you.
No, I think on their side, like I think they have over the last decade slowly but surely gotten rid of the people who are pointing out the actual things that stand in their way, right? They went after Kevin McCarthy. Better. They went at and sometimes that works. Sometimes that leaves them like pretty well stuck. I mean, like Donald Trump was president for 4 years. He wanted to repeal the Affordable Care Act. He didn't have the votes, right? There was a big conversation about why he didn't have the votes. That like there have been the Republican base like furious with spending bills that were passed, right?
What did Donald Trump do after when John McCain struck down the Affordable Care Act?
What did he do?
He took out the individual mandate regardless. He did.
Well, he did what the same thing a Democratic president would do. Do as much as you can legislatively, and when it fails, use your executive power, which is what Biden has done on student loans and a bunch of other issues.
Yeah, so my point is, he still got the most significant aspect of his, agenda across, and in the process, he utilized the bully pulpit to laser John McCain nonstop and effectively bully John McCain in a way that I've never seen a Democratic president turn around and communicate about Joe Biden. I'll hear it about the left, about how they're naysayers, how they're spoilers. I never hear it about conservative Democrats. And I think it's the coalition.
We talk about that.
It's the coalition that you want to have, is my point. And I think Democrats, win or lose, want to win by their own like established policies and the way that they want to win, and they're willing to lose if necessary, as long as they still maintain the overarching attitude that they have.
I just think that is,
or maybe they're just bad and wrong.
Well, I just think that I think people need to be persuaded. Like David Plouffe talking to Pfeiffer yesterday. He's like, look, you go to a swing state, you got a certain percentage of liberals and progressives, you got a certain percentage of conservatives, and you got this vast swath of moderates. You need them. Now, I think where you're right is like there is something about a Democratic establishment figures that feel more comfortable with a Liz Cheney sitting
Ugh.
at the table than with a leftist sitting at the table.
It's gross.
And that the disagreements with Liz Cheney are more kind of are acceptable, and the disagreements to the left are less acceptable.
But one must ask the question, why is that acceptable? Liz Cheney is anti-LGBT. Liz Cheney is anti-abortion. Liz Cheney is anti-Democratic Party. Liz Cheney is the daughter of a rabid, warmongering, terrorist sociopath, Dick Cheney. And yet there are Democrats who are more comfortable with her than people who also would totally be on board with the Democratic Party, but I don't know, have maybe sometimes identical opinions of Liz Cheney on even LGBT issues. Like Joe Rogan is a great example of this.
Yeah.
The Democratic Party has consistently utilized and weaponized in the most cynical ways possible identity politics. And I say this as someone who is infinitely more progressive than the average Democrat on these issues.
Mm-hmm.
They just use it. They use it against Bernie. They use it against every single person, and now they're dropping it themselves. That makes every Democrat look like a silly fool. That makes it does. In the eyes of Americans, they go, you called us racist, you called us transphobic, you called us crazy, and now you're saying, okay, my bad, we got to drop this woke shit. Like, of course people are going to go, all right, I guess like I'm primed into now believing the Republicans. Like you're pushing your base towards being more open-minded to right-wing policies. It's the only thing you're doing. And that's how and that's the only thing you're doing when you don't actually claw back a lot of the things that the former Republican administration engages in.
You know, there's that old saying, even a broken clock is right twice a day. And I think Hasan Piker, as much as I hate to say it, I think he does bring up a good point. Because Hasan Piker, he talks about how like the Democrats are now dropping the identity politics. And Hasan Piker is pretty much saying, well, either be about it or don't, or else you're gonna push people over to the conservative side. And in a way, like he's right. Like Democrats, whenever they feel the heat on something, they're quick to abandon their beliefs and quick to abandon their own party and make them look stupid in order to save their own asses, pretty much. Like I've brought up the example before about how when, you know, obviously if I bring up, oh, who's pro defunding the police? Your answer is going to be, oh, well, the left, the Democrats. The Democrats are the one who pushed defunding the police. Well, then I believe like a year or two ago, someone asked Karine Jean-Pierre a question about, oh yeah, you know, how about the Democrats defunding the police and stuff? And she said, well, it's actually the Republicans that were wanting to defund the police. And then she brings up an example of Republicans, I don't know, shooting down some bills that would have funded some police things here and there as her proof that Republicans are the ones that wanted to defund the police. And I remember sitting there thinking like, well, wait a minute. Like, how do Democrats not look or feel stupid when you have the Democrat Party being, well, actually, it's the left that wants, or that's actually the right that wants to defund the police. As a Democrat, I would have been sitting there thinking, well, wait a minute. So I've been siding with the Republicans the whole time? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And now that the Democrats are seeing that their woke policies, their DEI nonsense, all this woke Marxist ideology isn't working for them, this identity politics, they can't weaponize it anymore. Well, now they're ditching it, which I'm happy about. But as a Democrat, as a progressive, as someone, like if I were someone that supported the Democrats, I would be kind of upset. And so Hasan Piker, listen, he's obviously an idiot. He's obviously one of these dumb progressive jokes. But at the very least, you know, when he sees the Democrats are not really being about it, at least he'll call him out for it. But what do you guys think? Sound off in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel if you enjoy content like this. And if you do enjoy content like this, I got a whole screen with a bunch of goodies for you to click on and enjoy.